You're working harder than your parents ever did, and you own less than they had at your age. And no, it's not just inflation. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you spend too much on coffee. Something much bigger is happening right now, something that's transferring wealth away from you while you sleep. And by 2026, this gap could become permanent. Let me paint you a picture. You make $65,000 a year, maybe $80,000. Some of you are pushing six figures. On paper, you're doing okay. But here's what actually happens. Rent takes $2,100. Student loans, $430. Car payment, $520. Insurance, groceries, utilities, phone bill, and suddenly there's $340 left. For the entire month, you're not building wealth, you're not investing, you're not buying property, you're surviving. And the worst part, your parents bought their first home at 27, making less than you do now, adjusted for inflation. Think about that for a second. In 1990, the median home price was $123,000. The median household income was $29,000. That's about 4.2 times the annual income. In 2025, the median home price hit $442,000. Median income? About $75,000. That's almost 6 times the annual income. The math isn't matching. So, what changed? Why are people making more money than ever, but feeling broker than ever? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. This isn't an accident. What's happening right now is called a wealth transfer, and it's the biggest one of our generation. Let me explain this simply. A wealth transfer is when money, assets, property, and opportunities move from one group of people to another. Right now, wealth is moving from the middle class to corporations, workers to asset owners, savers to debt holders, renters to landlords, small business owners to mega companies. Picture it like this. Imagine 2 glasses of water. One glass represents the middle class, one represents the wealthy. Every month, a little water pours from your glass into theirs. Rent, subscriptions, interest payments, fees, debt, drip, drip, drip. You're not losing money because you're reckless. You're losing it because the system is designed to flow wealth upward. But here's the part nobody tells you. It's not just about money, it's about assets. And if you don't own assets, you become an asset. Let that sink in. Right now, in 2026, here's what's happening. Housing. Corporate investors now own over 27% of single-family rental homes in major U.S. cities. In Phoenix, Atlanta, and Charlotte, it's over 35%. These aren't people buying homes. These are hedge funds, private equity, billion-dollar companies. They're turning the American dream into a subscription model. You rent forever, stocks and assets. The top 10% of Americans own 89% of all stocks. Let me say that again. 89%. When the stock market goes up, the wealthy get wealthier. When inflation hits, their assets inflate. When you get a 3% raise, their portfolios grow 12%. Wages versus reality. Since 2000, productivity in the U.S. has increased by over 60%. But real wages, they've grown less than 18%. You're working harder, producing more, earning nearly the same. Where did that extra value go? Straight to the top. Now, here's where it gets worse. Because in 2026, there's a new player in the game. And it doesn't get tiring. Don't take breaks. Don't ask for a raise. AI. Artificial intelligence isn't just changing work. It's accelerating the wealth transfer. Companies are already using AI to replace millions of repetitive, white-collar tasks. Customer service, basic coding, data entry, content creation, junior analysts. A Goldman Sachs report estimated AI could impact up to 300 million jobs globally by 2030. And when companies replace workers with AI, where does that money go? Not to employees, to shareholders, to the people who own the companies, the people who own the assets. So let me be clear. you're not failing. The rules changed. You were told, go to school, work hard, climb the ladder. But the ladder is shrinking. The middle class was built on stable jobs, affordable homes, and rising wages. Now all three are disappearing, and you're competing with software that works 24/7 for almost nothing. This isn't a fair fight. And the people benefiting most? The ones who own AI companies, real estate stocks, infrastructure. Because the modern economy rewards ownership, not labor. And most people still don't see that shift happening. Now look at what's happening to the middle class. In 1971, 61% of Americans were middle class. By 2025, it dropped to around 50%. For the first time in modern history, the middle class is shrinking toward becoming the minority, and you can feel it in everyday life. Groceries, rent, insurance, healthcare, everything costs more. Paychecks got bigger, but purchasing power got smaller. That's why even people making decent money still feel broke. And the psychological trap is brutal. You start blaming yourself, but millions of Americans are relying on credit cards just to survive. Debt levels are at record highs, not because people are reckless, because survival itself became expensive, and it's changing the entire structure of society. For decades, the American dream was simple. Get a job, buy a house, build equity. That's how the middle class built wealth. But in 2026, that system is breaking. High home prices and high interest rates pushed ownership out of reach for millions. So people rent instead. And who's buying the homes? Corporations, private equity firms, investment groups, billion-dollar landlords. They buy houses in cash, rent them out, then raise prices year after year. They're turning home ownership into a subscription. You rent forever. Previous generations built wealth through homes. This generation may never get that chance. Your parents bought homes that quietly multiplied in value over decades. Meanwhile, renters spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and end up owning nothing, just receipts. So think about this. If wages can't keep up, if homes are becoming unreachable, and AI is replacing stable jobs, how are people supposed to move forward? Most won't, not unless they understand the new rules, because debt is no longer just financial, it's behavioral. Debt kills flexibility. When you owe money everywhere, you can't take risks. You stay dependent. You keep working, keep paying, keep consuming, and that's become normal now. Student loans, car payments, credit cards, buy now, pay later. Debt isn't the emergency anymore. For millions of people, it's the lifestyle. In 2026, the average American carries $104,000 in total debt. That includes mortgages, credit cards, student loans, auto loans, and personal loans. For people under 35, the average is $78,000, even without a mortgage. Let that sink in. You're starting life $78,000 in the hole, before you've built anything, before you've invested anything, before you've even had a chance. Now here's the question. Nobody's asking. Why is 2026 specifically the turning point? Because everything is accelerating right now. Here's what's converging in 2026. 1. AI adoption is exploding. Companies that tested AI in 2023 to 2024 are now fully implementing it. OpenAI's GPT-5 and Google's Gemini Ultra are replacing entire departments. A McKinsey report from late 2025 showed that 68% of Fortune 500 companies plan to cut workforce costs by 15 to 30% using AI by the end of 2026. That's millions of jobs. 2. The everything bubble is showing cracks. Stock valuations are at historic highs. The S&P 500 price-to-earnings ratio hit 26.3 in early 2026. For context, the historical average is around 16. Real estate is overvalued by nearly 35% in major metros, according to Moody's Analytics. When bubbles pop, the middle class loses jobs and savings. The wealthy, they buy the dip. 3. Generational wealth transfer is happening. Baby boomers are expected to pass down $84 trillion in wealth over the next 2 decades. Sounds great, right? Except most of that wealth is going to the already wealthy. The top 10% will inherit the majority. Everyone else gets little to nothing. 4. The renter economy is locking in. If you don't own a home by 2026, the gap becomes almost impossible to close. Prices are too high, rates are too high, inventory is too low, and corporations keep buying. This is the year the door closes for most people. So, here's what's really happening. 2026 is the year the middle class splits into 2 groups. Group 1, people who own assets, stocks, businesses, real estate, crypto, anything that generates value. Group 2, people who own nothing, rent forever, work forever, pay forever. And the difference between these 2 groups, it's not intelligence, it's not hard work, it's understanding the game. Okay, I know that was heavy, but understanding the problem is the first step to escaping it. Most people will spend years getting poorer without ever understanding why. Now the real question is, what do you do about it? Because hoping things improve won't save you. Strategy will. Solution. Number 1. Build skills AI can't replace. First, accept this. Job security is fading fast. If your work can be automated, eventually it will be. So focus on skills built around human value. Sales and persuasion. Leadership negotiation. Creative strategy. AI can generate information, but humans still drive trust, emotion, and decisions. Stop trying to become the perfect employee, start becoming difficult to replace, and, eventually, become an owner. Solution 2. Stop depending on one income. In 2026, one paycheck is dangerous. You need multiple income streams, not to look rich, to stay secure. That could mean freelancing. A small online business, digital products, service-based work. An extra $800 a month invested over time can completely change your future. That's how freedom starts. Solution. Number 3. Buy assets, not status. The wealthy buy things that grow. The middle class often buys things that impress. Cars, subscriptions, luxury spending. Most of it loses value fast. Assets do the opposite. Stocks, businesses, real estate, index funds. They compound quietly while you sleep. Even investing a few $100s a month consistently can turn into hundreds of thousands over time. That's the power of ownership. Because if your money isn't growing, inflation is slowly shrinking it. Solution 4. Escape consumer debt. Debt steals flexibility. The more debt you carry, the fewer choices you have. You can't take risks. You can't pivot. You can't breathe. High-interest debt keeps people trapped for years. So attack it aggressively. Pay off the highest interest balances first. Because freedom starts when your income belongs to you again. This isn't just about getting rich. It's about avoiding financial panic. It's about having options. Being able to leave a toxic job, helping your family, sleeping peacefully at night. The wealth transfer is happening either way. The only question is, which side are you on? Most people won't change. They'll hear this, agree with it, and go back to old habits. Then, 5 years later, they'll wonder why life got harder. But you still have a choice. Ignore the shift, or adapt to it. Because the people who understand this early may survive it. The people who ignore it may spend the next decade trying to catch up. So let me ask you, do you think this wealth transfer is accidental or designed? Comment real if you felt this happening in your own life. And if you want to understand money, power, and the hidden rules shaping this economy. Subscribe, because most people won't realize what's happening until it's already too late. But now, you do. So the real question is, what are you going to do about it?